Part 131. Path to Heaven. Author, Wu Ziyi. Chapter 1314. The Power to Leave the Sky. The cause of the Xuanhuan War is finally revealed at this time. The legendary key to the fairyland actually exists. It is the power to create the heavenly dome. It is kept by the wild and the spiritual clan separately. The wild clan knows the place of custody, and the spiritual clan has the method of entry. Your aborigines want to get the entry method of the spirit clan, so they caused such a war? Where is the custody of the key to the fairyland? Wei Suo's non-stop evolutionary turned a red sword with a handle and cut into the void, and then asked. It was the first ancestors of our baron who wanted to get the entry of the spirit clan, which caused a war. The custody of the key to the fairyland is in Xuanhuan Mountain. The thing in your hand is not a map, but a driving pass. The magic weapon to send the magic circle to Xuanhuan Mountain. The golden light and shadow of the 3 heads and 32 arms faced Wei Suo, and answered politely. Xuanhuan Mountain? This is the magic weapon that drives the teleportation circle to that place? Where is the teleportation circle? Wei Suo was taken aback in his heart, and the triangle-shaped iron metal rose from his front. Yes. Each of our 3 ancestors of the Baron has such a magic weapon. It is the first ancestor of our Baron to stay. The effect of each piece is the same. This piece should be the one in the hands of Lu. The piece of his body was also lost in the turmoil of the void during the battle between the extraterrestrial demon who came here 60 or 70,000 years ago. Another piece was taken by Xuanhuan Emperor, but in the end, Xuanhuan Emperor also suffered a fatal blow. I escaped into the void of the void and was chased and killed by this avatar. After annihilating this avatar, I was cut off from contact with me. I didn't expect it to fall, and turned my own wisdom. The golden light and shadow of the 3 heads and 32 arms nodded the unicorn monster on the side. After saying this, they continued, Xuanhuan Mountain is the origin of our baron, and the home of our baron is from there. Above a buoy, as for the teleportation circle leading to Xuanhuan Mountain, every one of our barons has it. Now there is this teleportation circle in Wu floating on the same airspace. Xuanhuan Emperor. It was Xuanhuan Emperor who pretended to be wounded in Beiming. Ling Longtian shook his body and gave an incredulous exclamation. Xuanhuan Mountain turned out to be the origin of the barbarians. What kind of character is the Emperor Xuanhuan? Wei Suo couldn't help looking at Ling Longtian. From Ling Longtian's reaction, he knew that Ling Longtian must know Xuanhuan, the origin of the great. The veins of Xuanhuan Emperor and our Devil Emperor Dragon are both inherited from the ancient Zayao Mountain, and have countless connections. And according to the legend of our people, the veins of Xuanhuan Emperor once received the powerful Buddhist who left the heavenly dome. Some heritage. Linglong took a deep breath and quickly transmitted sound to everyone's ears. Inheritance of the mighty comrade who left the sky. Wei Suo and Han Weiwei were all shocked. In the past, the sky dome made all monks awe. The characters related to the sky dome are simply unimaginable, but now they seem to be getting closer and closer to them. Where is the teleportation circle that communicates with the following future? Wei Suo's body was already white, and his entire body began to become like a silver-white glaze due to a large amount of elemental air loss and blood loss, but he still kept evolving the red Daejian, slashing the piece of void storm. The extraterrestrial demon in the meantime continued to ask quickly. This is a voidless infinite circle. There is no exact location. As long as the cast is evolved, you can communicate with the teleportation circle. The golden figure with 3 heads and 32 arms stretched out, but a little golden light gathered into a decision. Law. Wei Suo just glanced at it, and the decision was taken directly into his knowledge. Since the custody of the key to the fairyland is in your native float, what is the thing of the spirit clan that you entered, that is, what you want to from the hands of the spirit clan, what is it? Ling Longtian's. At this moment, the voice could not help but sound. Devil Emperor Dragon's status has always been very high among the spirit clan because of its powerful combat power, but even in the status of Ling Longtian, she doesn't know anything about the key to any fairyland at all. The man who left the Sky Dome, why did he want to leave such a thing, but we still have to keep it for the Baron and the Spirit Clan separately, she couldn't help asking. She really couldn't figure out why the legendary White Coat did this. Since the legend of the fairyland was left, and since the road to the fairyland was left, why not let people enter directly? The key to the fairyland appeared before 130,000 years. The golden light and shadow of the 3 heads and 32 arms explained politely, there is no sign, the divine light fell over 9 days. Open up the storage area of the key to the fairyland, and lower the oracle, let us both the wild spirits keep together, and open together after a wild element. What does a Baron Yuan mean? Wei Suo asked, his eyes flashing. It is the habit of our Baron. It is called a Baron element in 120,000 years. The golden light and shadow of the 3-headed and 32 arms continued. We know that the residents of the Spirit Clan also landed the same light and explained the same oracle, but we don't know exactly what is kept by the Spirit Clan. Our ancestors of the Baron Clan only felt that as long as they captured the imperial character of the Spirit Clan, they would naturally know. Why should it be opened after 120,000 years? Wei Suo and Ling Longtian were incomprehensible, and almost uttered at the same time, there is no other special elaboration in the Oracle of Landing. There is only one sentence, saying that in order to cope with the big changes the 3 heads and 32 arms golden light and shadow nodded. Our first ancestors of the Baron can't see through the future, tracing the future, and decided to capture the future in their own hands, but unexpectedly, in those 10,000 years, there were many talents among the human races. In the battle between the North and the North, seeing that the victory has been determined, they will still encounter the advent of the extraterrestrial demon. The White Coat may have predicted what happened, we still eat our own evil and underestimate his supernatural powers. Grasp the trajectory of the future? Can the white man really be able to dedicate what happened after tens of thousands of years? Wei Suo and others couldn't help but take a deep breath and looked at each other. Is that fairyland like a spiritual garden prepared for the 2 families of Linghuang? Let the world's elixir brew in it and prepare for 120,000 years before it is opened. Is it to cope with the split of the sky and save the lives of countless monks? Coping with the big changes, the words said by the golden light and shadow of the 3 heads and 32 arms made Wei Suo and Ling Longtian numb. The original Ling Longtian was still extremely puzzled and even a little angry, because the key to this fairyland it was the source of the fall of so many people that she was familiar with. But at this moment, this sentence of the ancestor-level figure of the Huangzu made her, Wei Suo, and others implicitly feel that the existence of a white coat like a sergeant, even the imperial-level figure, cannot exist. Deeply. It is very likely that they have been seeing for more than 100,000 years, something they haven't seen. Buzz. Suddenly, at this moment, a massive burst of star wind roared from the gap in the huge space. All of them felt an inexplicable heart palpitation, like a giant thing that was so large that it could burst a star, suddenly jumped in the void of the void. What? Han Weiwei and all others exclaimed in his heart, but he could not make any sound in his mouth. In the picture, the extraterrestrial demon killed by Wei Suo's Red Daejian mercilessly has obviously started a powerful counterattack. The body of the extraterrestrial demon with golden bones exudes a golden light pattern like an ocean. A horrible huge golden bone palace manifests above the huge white bone ship where he is. The countless red Dao swords transformed by Wei Suo are fixed in the nether storm, it cannot be cut. At the same time, above another giant white-boned ship, hundreds of dire white lights suddenly burst out, sweeping in the void storm, forming an extremely huge light wheel. Boom! There was a huge shock in the void, and a dazzling silver-white divine light burst out of it. This time, it wasn't any imperial supernatural power, but an extraterrestrial demon with terror energy fluctuation and powerful vitality showing up on his body. Among the extraterrestrial demon, Some people have evolved amazing territories of the void. There are already extraterrestrial demon, rushed out of the void, and came to this airspace. The first out-of-world demon was 2 feet tall, his bones were silver-white, and there were a pair of silver-white long wings behind him. As soon as he appeared, countless terrifying energies fluctuated into the sky, and the void above collapsed directly. All the plants on the meteorite within a tens of thousands of miles are dead and turned into fly ash. This kind of energy fluctuation alone, if it came to the previous Yunling continent or Tianxian continent, is enough to make a city collapse directly. Han Weiwei and others are almost desperate. This kind of extraterrestrial demon power is simply unimaginable. If it were not Wei Suo who had already radiated countless crystal light at this moment, locked the side of the world where they were, otherwise the light was the eyes of a demon outside this domain, which was enough to kill them all. Humble creatures, don't you want to stop us from coming alone? This whole body condensed into a silver-white armor, and the extraterrestrial demon with silver-white bone wings behind him sneered extremely coldly. A series of silver-white cold electricity spread in the void, whipping towards Weizhuo here. At the end of each silver-white cold electricity, there is a huge mountain of bones manifesting. Do you think I can't catch your mind? Even if I don't stop you, you will never let go of any creature in this world. In this case, I can only kill you all. But Wei Suo did not retreat at all, but rushed towards this terrifying extraterrestrial demon. Between him and this extraterrestrial demon, countless gods burst into light. Just a moment, I don't know how many amazing powerful collisions. Zheng. Suddenly, all the 2 silver-white bone wings on this extraterrestrial demon disappeared and turned into 2 silver electric lights, which were pumped into Wei Suo's chest. Wei Suo's chest reached the younger generation, and suddenly countless silver lights burst out, and countless blood rushed. He had already turned a lot of blood into a white body with a sword, and suddenly became more white. What? But what made Han Weiwei and others yell in his heart was that Wei Suo didn't have any pause at all. His hands were directly caught on the body of the extraterrestrial demon, and with a scream, the face of the extraterrestrial demon, just a hint of horror and unbelievable expression appeared, and Wei Suo was like a rag, ripped into several pieces, and countless patterns rippling in the void instantly cracked. While ripping this extraterrestrial demon into pieces, some inexplicable gods emanating from his hand also penetrated into the physical debris of the extraterrestrial demon, cutting off all its vitality. This extraterrestrial demon, at least a semi-emperor level character, no one thought that Wei Suo was so arrogant that he would directly destroy the extraterrestrial demon. Asterisk. The next time is around 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. Path to Heaven. Author, Wu Ziyi. Chapter 1315. An extraterrestrial demon with at least half-emperor level combat power was killed by Wei Suo, and even Shen Nian could not escape. Even though Han Weiwei and others were more worried about Wei Suo than anything else, this kind of shock made them feel numb even with their hair tips. However, after Wei Suo killed the extraterrestrial demon with at least half-emperor level combat power, there was no pause. His feet suddenly appeared a lot of mysterious ice patterns, penetrated into the void, and I don't know what is evolving. God is. He is fighting against many people at the same time. Han Weiwei and others were shocked to see that a white lotus flower grew out of the void at the foot of Wei Suo, a ray of white divine light, like the light of the beginning, penetrated directly into Wei Suo's body, but this plant grew from the void. The white bone lotus that came out only revealed a flower and bone, and was forced by the mysterious ice pattern that appeared under Wei Suo's feet. The surface was instantly filled with numerous ice edges and withered. Boom! There was another huge earthquake in that void rip, which rolled out a void storm that Dishan had to be directly scraped to pieces. A black divine light emerged in a tyrannical manner, splitting the void. What? Even Han Weiwei and others, who were already numb and shocked all over, could not help but exclaim again. In the picture, the powers that have evolved on the giant ship with white bones have been fixed on the red road swords, and Wei Suo can't pull his hand to evolve more powerful powers at the moment. The strong, come across the void. Boom. One foot stepped out of the void with a lot of black divine light. This foot is a black armored evolutionary suit. It looks very similar to Shi Jialan, and it is owned by the extraterrestrial demon. Figures of royal blood. Moreover, the cultivation of this figure of the extraterrestrial demon king who stepped into this world is higher than that of Shi Jialan. Stepping out of one foot is to directly step out countless black giant waves in the air, rushing in all directions. At the same time that the split light realm appeared again in front of Wei Suo, countless cold and transparent light stars appeared in his eyes and penetrated into the void. He is obviously not only fighting against the extraterrestrial demon who stepped on one foot at the moment, but also fighting against certain divinities on different levels. Boom. While Wei Suo's spectroscopy flew out a huge black wave, the void trembles, and the extraterrestrial demon who stepped on one foot finally came out. This is an incomparably magnificent king, covered in black godlike bone armor. The black flame of his body condenses into a feather-like shape, and he does not know how many miles in the void. His facial features are also very heroic, but his eyes are black and white, if two worlds are changing differently. Yet, the king of the incomparably great shore stepped out of the void, and there were countless black waves, blocking the reversal of the black waves. At the same time, he gave an unimaginable howl in one mouth. The invisible sound wave actually condensed into a naked body with 4 wings on it, and the female demon directly ran into Wei Suo's body. This is an unimaginable scene. A very heroic king has a mouth, and there are at least tens of thousands of black 4-winged naked in the void. The body demon, directly from all directions, hit Wei Suo's head. Magic sound runs through the brain. This is the unique talent of the extraterrestrial demon, which has evolved unimaginable power by this extraterrestrial demon. This extraterrestrial demon is approaching Quasi-Emperor. Ling Longtian's face was white, and Wei Suo's head was covered with many pimple-shaped bulges at this moment, as if to be exploded from countless female demon from inside to outside. Laugh. But Wei Suo had only one action at this moment. His fingers flicked across his eyebrows. His eyebrows seemed to burst, a purple and black intertwined light flashed out, and his head instantly became normal. At the same time, he took a step forward, just one step, and he had already reached the height of the extraterrestrial demon king, who was at least 3 times his height. Human race, you are very strong, but you want to block the footsteps of so many kings of the heavens, but it is too stupid. It is really looking for death. The voice of this extremely magnificent extraterrestrial demon king is directly in everyone's voice. Shocked in the consciousness. Laugh. A black Excalibur suddenly pierced directly from Wei Suo's rear, broke into Wei Suo's back, and emerged from the heart of the front. This extraterrestrial demon king seems to have expected that while a sneer appeared in the corner of his mouth, there were also black and white divine light in his eyes, and there was a terrifying gas machine evolving. But what made his sneer froze instantly was that Wei Suo's movement didn't even stop at all. He even ignored the black Excalibur that had penetrated him, and slammed it with one hand on this extraterrestrial demon king. Overhead. Zheng. This extraterrestrial demon king family close to the Quasi-Emperor instantly settled in the void, and the sound of countless fairy sounds rang in the body. The black armor on the surface of the body of this extraterrestrial demon king family instantly turned golden yellow, and then, a golden phoenix condensed by an inch-long golden divine light emerged from his body. It's just the time when the thoughts flashed. At least tens of thousands of such golden phoenixes poured out of the body of this extraterrestrial demon royal family, and his whole person seemed to become a honeycomb. This gives the impression that this quasi-imperial horror royal family has entered countless witches in Weizhou, and Weizhou returned him with countless golden gods, but the difference is that Weizhou resisted him. But he was obviously unable to stop the evolution of Weizhou such as Wei Suo. Even among the 5 senses, the golden divine phoenix spewed out. Even when Wei Suo's hand left his head, his body was still firmly in the void, and the endless golden phoenix, still surging out of his body, dyed the entire void. It became golden. Yet, this extraterrestrial demon king cries out in horror, but it can't break away and resolve Wei Suo's supernatural power, but in a blink of an eye, the vitality has been completely cut off, and even a wave of spiritual thought has not escaped. Another para-empire-level extraterrestrial demon was exterminated by Wei Suo. Between Wei Suo's eyebrows at the moment, all the rippling cold kills, his people seem to have completely transformed into a magic soldier, his arrogance, so that Han Weiwei and others cannot help but panic. Crazy human monk, I will let you know what regret is. Boom. But at this moment, a terrible breath rushed out, as if it could directly destroy a star. An extraterrestrial demon covered with black gold appeared directly on Weizhuo's side with a bronze spear. Bronze divine light flashed, and the void of Wei Suo's body directly disappeared. Laugh. At the same time, in the void under Wei Suo, another white bone lotus grew out. Keng. The bronze-colored ancient spear directly pierced Wei Suo's body, and a boundless divine light burst out, as if to blow Wei Suo's body directly into fly ash. What? Han Weiwei and others couldn't help screaming, desperately trying to rush forward. Even if they died together, don't just watch Wei Suo be killed in front of them. But all of them discovered that they were completely imprisoned by a powerful divine power and could not rush out. At this moment, they reacted, and Wei Suo even evolved strong powers against the enemy's extraterrestrial demon, and wrapped them in it. No wonder that these extraterrestrial demons' powerful power did not pose a threat to them at all. Puff. Wei Suo's flesh and this bronze ancient spear were still unable to contend. A mass of vitality turned into fly ash in front of the spear tip. Zheng. But Dao Shenyang regained its strength, but Wei Suo's hand was caught on this bronze ancient spear. At the same time, a sudden burst of vitality exploded outside his body and penetrated into his body. The vitality in the broken bodies of the two extraterrestrial demons killed by him before, at this moment, was all sucked out by him and instantly refined into his body. This ancient bronze spear was grabbed by his hand, unable to penetrate. In the eyes of the extraterrestrial demon holding an ancient spear, instantly filled with horrified and awakened look. This seems to be a trap deliberately set by Wei Suo. He took off the ancient spear directly, and wanted to escape in a very pretentious manner. But at this moment, Wei Suo's eyes just flickered, a golden chain, pierced out of the void with infinite thunder, and directly penetrated the extraterrestrial demon into the air. This bronze ancient spear and the black Excalibur pierced in Weizhuo were all pulled out of Weizhuo's body. Even if he absorbed the energy of two extraterrestrial demons, obviously not all of the extraterrestrial demons' vitality were useful to him, only a small part can be used by him. The talents and skills of the famine and the evolution of his imperial ranks, after all, can't devour everything in the world. His body now looks whiter, just like a piece of white glaze, but he doesn't stay at all, his hands are full of light. The shot, the bronze ancient spear and the black Excalibur, were all shot into the void in front of him. I saw in the picture, above a huge ship of bone, a large piece of void directly disillusioned, a bronze and black beam of light was like a heavenly punishment, and the town settled down and directly penetrated this huge ship of bone, collapsing into countless pieces. Extraterrestrial demon. Boom. But at this moment, the void in the direction of the void gap suddenly turned into a pale white. A whitish-white brilliance revealed from it that it was a huge white bone bow. On the ship, all are fierce extraterrestrial demon heads, and they are all brilliant. What? The witch goddess and everyone else screamed in horror. This is the boneless ship of the extraterrestrial demon. It turned out that at this moment, the giant white bone ships of the demon outside this domain have already approached the shore, and they have begun to reach this airspace. Asterisk. Next time is more than 8 p.m. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Path to Heaven. Author, Wu Zy. Chapter 1316. The picture in front of Wei Suo suddenly disappeared into countless crystal streamers. /new text reading experience /. These white-boned ships coming from other star fields have begun to pierce the void, and they have no need to use these techniques to lock the gas engines of these white-boned ships. Woo! At this moment, this huge ship with white bones was a protruding bow, and a mere storm of void brought out was comparable to the power of a piece of fairy, which stimulated the void to produce various aurora colors. Every grisly extraterrestrial demon head on the hull of the ship was sprayed with a stream of fine light, which seemed to be pushing the huge ship with white bones. Every breath of the extraterrestrial demon, I am afraid that it can destroy the power of double, triple, and terrible of a Shenxian. This kind of scene is really terrible. Boom! Almost at the moment when this huge ship of white bones appeared, a terrible gas engine pressed against Weizhuo. Another extraterrestrial demon king figure covered in black armor appeared on the bow. The figure of the extraterrestrial demon king family is made of black crystals, and every step of falling, the stars of the heavens seem to be driven by him, and the stars are constantly sweeping from all sides, and there are huge mountains of bones manifested between him and Weizhuo. Human monk, you are very powerful, but you will regret appearing here, ah. The royal character of the extraterrestrial demon made such a voice as soon as he appeared, deterring Wei Suo, but his words had just been spoken, and they had turned into screams. Boom! He had just made a sound, Wei Suo had already stepped in front of him, and punched out. All the bone-bearing giant mountains between him and Wei Suo were shattered. Wei Suo's fist became 72. Zhangxian 2, like the 72 worlds are spinning. This extraterrestrial demon king family struggled desperately, shooting countless chain-like divine lights, and the black crystal-like divine armor all evolved into a spear, piercing Weizhuo's fist, but it could not be blocked at all, the whole body all are set in the void. With a puff, all the black spears shot by this extraterrestrial demon king family shattered, and the whole body was directly smashed by Wei Suo. The royal character in the extraterrestrial demon at the beginning was still arrogant to deter Wei Suo, but he couldn't even say a word completely, he was directly smashed by Wei Suo. But Wei Suo's blow hadn't stopped. Boom, it seemed like hammering the world. After Wei Xiao's punch smashed the royal character in the extraterrestrial demon, he hit the boneless ship directly. Bow! Half of the hull had been put out of this huge ship with white bones, and Wei Suo's punch fell, and the whole bow came to the hull, and there was an undulating wave. Then, the whole hull was slammed back and back. At that time, the entire hull had begun to disintegrate, and the bones and fragments of the bones flying in the sky were flying in the void. Is this the power of the Emperor? Everyone was shocked, and another at least half-Emperor-level extraterrestrial demon was killed by Wei Suo. A huge ship with white bones was smashed by Wei Suo with a punch. Wei Suo is now only Emperor Tian's cultivation practice, the realm of the Emperor. If we really get to the Emperor's cultivation practice, how far will Wei Suo's combat power go? Boom! On the top of Wei Suo's head, a huge shadow of 32 arms and a golden ancient lotus appeared at the same time. The spirits of the extraterrestrial demon kings and the rest of the extraterrestrial demon were bombarded by him. The yellow ancient lotus engulfed. Your practice can even devour the energy of our celestial clan. But with you alone, it is like killing all of us. Do you really think our celestial clan is empty? But at this moment, with an old voice, a round of golden yellow phalon directly suppressed Wei Suo's body. Tens of thousands of light stars flew out of Wei Suo's body. In the void behind him, countless brilliances and vanishes seemed to help Wei Suo to share the damage, but even then, Wei Suo's chest was instantly filled with hits. Numerous crystal-like cracks in spider webs penetrate deep into the bones, inside the internal organs. His entire body was also beaten as if halfway into the void, and countless masses of annihilation lights appeared behind him. A huge golden figure appeared, and at the same time, a terror that far surpassed all the extraterrestrial demon in the front, changed the rules of the vitality of the entire Storm Island, as if this huge golden figure carried a complete heaven and earth came over and replaced the Storm Isle directly. This extraterrestrial demon is up to 3 feet tall, his skeleton is golden yellow, and his whole body is surrounded by golden auras. It is the former boneless ship, and the evolutionary cracks the Weizhou Red Daejeon's emperor. Among the extraterrestrial demon, an emperor-level figure finally appeared. Everyone knows that the real battle of life and death has begun. This extraterrestrial demon emperor with golden bones may even surpass Weizhou. This is the deadly enemy that threatens Weizhou. Weizhou's body once again manifests the light. A golden bone blade like a giant sickle pierced the void and brought out a new space rift, but it was rebounded by Weizhou. Puff. Another mouthful of blood spewed out of Weizhou's mouth. The crack in his chest showed no signs of recovery, but instead continued to penetrate inside. However, his casting speed seemed to be faster than that of the extraterrestrial demon emperor with golden bones. An unprecedented killing shock came out of his body, and all his hair was flying, like countless silver behind him. White lightning portrayed in the void. Each silver-white lightning-like hair is carved into a large array in the void. Boom! The vast void behind him was annihilated, and at the same time, 32 crystal arms were condensed behind him. Each arm was a fist, and there were 72 immortals in the fist. These 72 pictures of immortals seem to be the 72 different heavens and earths experienced by Emperor Tongtian. Click. A golden yellow skeleton that appeared in front of the extraterrestrial demon with golden bones broke off instantly. This real emperor-level extraterrestrial demon emperor took 3 steps back. Between the 3 steps, the 2 white bone giant ships that had just exposed half of the hull in the void were also instantly destroyed by the unmatched Xuanhuan. The half of the prow exposed was even worse than the previous one, and all were directly destroyed. Everything vanishes. The extraterrestrial demon emperor with golden bones was furious and opened his mouth, and a universe spewed out of his mouth directly. All of the divine light and disordered power disappeared into invisible at this moment, within tens of thousands of miles, and everything was attributed to silence. However, Weizhou's body suddenly had a bone-sized white bone flower growing out of it, and each white bone flower was rippling with the power of silence, and the blood and the real element in Weizhou's body were continuously drawn. Come out and vanish. Why saw? Han Weiwei and others couldn't help but rush towards Weizhou, but they were still ripped by a divine power, as if sealed in a completely different world. At this moment, Weizhou's body was terribly white, and the feeling was completely broken. Don't panic. The dead profiteers never do anything at a loss. If he really falls, he will definitely escape. Ling Longtian's voice passed into everyone's ears, so he could only watch Weizhou desperately. Han Weiwei and others, who are going crazy, are slightly calm, but Ling Longtian's nails have been caught in the flesh of her palm, but she is inexplicable. This kind of talk really only serves as a psychological comfort for a moment. Even in the realm of Han Weiwei and others, it will definitely react quickly. Like this kind of emperor-level confrontation, life and death are only in the front line, who can have grasped the contraction freely. Cut. At this moment, Weizhou's mouth made a terrible Dao sound, reached out and stroked his body, a sword light that could not be opened by everyone's eyes, swept across his own body. All the white bone flowers growing out of him were all cut off by the sword light, and all attached to the sword light. The sword light cut forward, and the astral emperor with golden bones appeared in amazed eyes. He never thought that Weizhou was so strong. This sword light, even he could not contain it. Zheng. All the divine light and heaven and earth in front of the extraterrestrial demon emperor were cut open. The sword light directly cut off his half of the body, and countless golden blood flew in the void. This is the showdown of the most powerful realm. At the moment of electric light flint, Wei Suo actually took the wind. What? This extraterrestrial demon emperor made a roar of tremors. Since his birth, he has never been hit so hard. Countless golden yellow rays of light erupted from his mouth, and half of his body turned into a golden star directly, slamming into Wei Suo. Boom! Wei Suo's spectroscopy once again blocked this great emperor's blow. At the same time, the troll phantom and the ancient lotus phantom flashing above his head actually drew a lot of energy out of this golden star. Laugh. At the same time, he grabbed one of his hands, and a white bone lotus bone that had not yet grown out of the void was pulled out of the void by him. What? A giant ship with white bones just got out of the void, and a demon outside Fang suddenly sent out a scream of sorrow, and his body burst apart. This is also a character of at least half emperor level, but was also killed on the spot by Weizhuaj. Go. But after killing this extraterrestrial demon, Wei Suo's face also appeared extremely helpless, and in a flash of light, he had already reached Han Wei and others. He is now enough to resist an extraterrestrial demon emperor, but the number of extraterrestrial demon coming here is too much, and he can no longer support it. Wow! When Wei Suo returned to Han Wei and others, the entire void suddenly turned black, and numerous black beams of light formed a huge tide, rolling and oscillating in the void. The next one is more early tomorrow. Baidu search for Path to Heaven. Author, Wu Ziyi. Chapter 1317. The eyes of Han Wei and others are all black, just like the shuttle in the long river of black time and space, but there are inexplicable sounds flowing in the airs, and the thrilling gas machine is flowing around. Those strong men in the extraterrestrial demons are fighting at a level they cannot reach. Why saw? Husband. When the black in front of him disappeared, everyone screamed in shock. I saw that they had returned to the top of the barren Buddhism. In front of them was the huge black light column that rushed to the sky, but Wei Suo's heart was pierced by a silver white bone spear. The bone spear has the thickness of a bowl and a length of more than 10 feet. It is nailed on Wei Suo's body. This scene simply makes Han Wei and all others soulful. It doesn't matter, I can't die yet. But Wei Suo seemed extremely calm, reaching out and waving forward, and an indigo blue light shot out of his hand and hit the huge mountain under his feet. Boom! The huge black pillar of light directly crashing into the sky collapsed directly, but in the mountain of the huge giant mountain below, an equally huge stream of copper-colored light burst out. This is the power of the star's nuclear deflagration. He inspired the star's core that keeps this float in motion. Ling Longtian and others all reacted instantly. At this moment, the impression is that the copper-colored light stream rushing from below bursts the huge black divine light column, and this copper-colored light stream is rippling with extremely terrifying star magnetism and star deflagration. Force is exactly like a planet exploding, forming such a stream of light. What? Han Wei and others are really going crazy, and they are all hairy. The copper-colored light flow formed by the force of the explosion of the star nucleus rushed up, and I saw that in the collapsed black streamer, it was raining like a rain. Several of the extraterrestrial demon corpses' breaths are extremely terrifying, far more than the real immortals. Obviously, these extraterrestrial demons have been chased down, but the void channel was instantly closed by Wei Suo, and counterattacked with the force of the violent star explosion. Boom! On Weizhuo's head, a ghost image of a 32-armed demon and an ancient lotus appeared again, and all the favorable energy from the remains of the celestial bodies of the extraterrestrial devil was drawn into the body. This silver-white bone spear melts like hot oil, and every drop of silver-white hot oil blooms into tens of thousands of silver-white patterns. Come on, this float will soon be completely cracked. You must reach that circle before the float disappears. You take me a while, and I will heal first. Without the slightest pause, a road map clearly appeared in all people's minds, pointing to a prescription position in this floating car. At the same time, Wei Suo also sat down in the void, his voice at the same time as everyone's mind sounded, an endless green vine-like gleam turned into the void. A stream of star vitality was drawn from the void, like a stream of bright water flowing into his body. Oh! 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 Pieces of debris flew out of him. Some of these fragments are fragments of divine light, some resemble some bone fragments, and some resemble some qi and blood eroded by weird power in Weizhuo. Go! Seeing such a scene, Han Weiwei and Shui Linger were almost going to faint, but they still clenched their teeth, and their white face immediately followed the witch goddess who rolled up Wei Suo and others. Wei Suo's situation made each of them understand that Wei Suo's injury was actually more serious than his appearance. Boom! 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 Just as everyone swooped down towards the bottom of this huge mountain, the entire floater had apparently started to oscillate in the void, falling down. A group of people rushed to the front of a white aura, and all rushed in. When it reappeared, it was already in another place in Buddhism, and the scene that Wei Suo brought to their minds was exactly the same. It was a desert-like hairless land, and a red stone mountain stood like a strong. The stars were burned with real fire, the surface was all crystalline, and there were traces of stars' vitality, which kept exuding from the top of the stone mountain hundreds of feet high. Wei Suo, how are you? Before reaching this red stone mountain, Wei Suo's closed eyes were opened, and the extremely complex vitality fluctuations of his body were slightly calmed down, and all people immediately couldn't help asking. I can barely restore my vitality, but in the short term, if I can't enter the legendary fairyland, my cultivation base can't be greatly improved. The other party's cultivation base is too strong, except for 3 real emperor-level figures. In addition, there are 5 remaining quasi-imperial characters. Wei Suo took a deep breath and took the triangular mad iron card into his hand. He seems to be accumulating energy, and there are still green vine-like rays of light piercing into the void under his body, continuously pumping out the bright stars like the river, and into the body. 2 real emperors. All people's faces changed again. It turned out that in addition to Fang Cai, an extraterrestrial demon emperor covered with golden bones, there were 2 extraterrestrial demon emperors. One person dares to stand alone against the 3 extraterrestrial demon emperors, as well as facing so many quasi-imperial characters. What kind of spirit is this? Don't take what I think too hard, they are all limited to the limits of the nether storm. When you just face the enemy, only a few people can really threaten me. If you really come to the airspace just above, 3 people we can't escape with the real great emperor. Wei Suo saw the meaning in the eyes of Chang Sun Ziru and others, and said with a wry smile, and when I sensed their arrival, I have captured some of their thoughts. The extraterrestrial demon was originally a group of people migrating among the stars, destroying the heavens and earth that traveled by, and enslaving thousands of souls. They originally tried to reach our heaven and earth. They originally wanted to avenge and find some of their ethnic groups for lost. The ancient objects that travel through the void. In the ancient times, they even had more than the Emperor's clan descended on our starry sky, but they disappeared from the sky, and they must have been wiped out by the shocking characters of the time. At the time of the battlefield in the sky, and tearing the gap in the void, some of the characters of the demon outside their domain were also in the broken void storm, capturing some of your broken spirits of the spirit and the barren. I know the specific location of our side of heaven and earth, and there are things about fairyland. It turns out that the famine finally got angry with the upper body. Jia and others took a deep breath, their eyes gathered on the body and the unicorn monster of the frenzy. At this moment, the body of the power and the unicorn monster have been asleep, but the golden light and shadow of the 32 arms and 3 heads are still very cautiously suspended above the power and body of the power. I learned from the divine thoughts captured by them that they would slaughter all the creatures in our world. With the perception of their characters, our monks in this world cannot even hide. Even if they hide, especially those who do things like ours must be the targets of their first slaughter, so I must fight with them desperately. Wei Suo laughed bitterly again, and the void of the void will definitely be opened by them. There are more extraterrestrial monsters coming. There are more extraterrestrial demons coming. Wei Suo's words suddenly made everyone speechless. Ganjiame, do you know what could be the key to the fairyland? Wei Suo's eyes stayed on Ling Longtian. If we can't crack the secret of the key to the fairyland, and cultivation can't be greatly improved, it is destined not to change the fate of this world. The distance between here and that airspace can't stop them for long. With the magical powers of the three emperors, they will soon be able to open up the passage to this place. Ling Longtian's face was completely pale, and her voice was a little trembling. She was not so afraid of death, but at this moment it was not about her life, but about the fate of the world where she lived, including Wei Suo and all others. I don't know. But she still shook her head, because she did not have any contact with the secret of any fairyland key. Is your gray bracelet possibly related to the secret of the key to this fairyland? Wei Suo glanced at the gray bracelet on Ling Longtian's hand. I cannot understand the vitality law and mystery inside your bracelet. The realm of the Super Emperor. I don't know, just saying that the power to build the Sky Dome is given to our family, but there is no mention of the key to the fairyland. Ling Longtian shook his head. We will talk about it in the past. Wei Suo looked at everyone and said this. Everyone can see the meaning of Wei Suo. If you can do it, you can do it. The triangular iron card in his hand seemed to be burning, and a terrible air machine was running through the world. All the red hills in the line of sight were split apart, like a lotus in bloom. Countless strands of strange starlight twisted in the void, and condensed with the flying dust emitted from the triangle iron card in Wei Suo's hand. In the air, a simple, dark ancient iron door stood. Countless streamers appeared directly in front of all people. Without waiting for them to reflect, Wei Suo had drawn them into this black iron door. Numerous hurricanes with the vicissitudes of breath spewed out of the ancient gate, and at the same time, the entire floater flew in the void, and then pieces of land cracked apart. What is that? A corner of the Yunling continent, all monks in a monk gathering place, and countless monsters and beasts in the wild wasteland all look up to the sky. In the sky, huge pieces of meteorite, burning with flames, fell densely from the sky. Asterisk. On the road today, the next one is more than 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. Path to Heaven. Author, Wu Ziyi. Chapter 1318. This is where the Buddhism of the Aboriginals lies. It really has to do with the white sergeant who founded the Sky Dome. When all the streamers in front of me disappeared, and when we could see the scene in front of us again, all the people were shocked and inexpressible. In front of me was a vast dark and lonely world. In the sky above, there were strips of indigo blue floating in the sky, just like a pair of wild eyes. A bleak and vicissitudes of wind is like blowing from ancient times, making a humming sound in the vast wasteland. But in this piece that seemed to be empty, only the barren breath was in the floating wilderness, in front of everyone, but there was a milky white aura standing there. This milky white aura is not huge, only a few 100 feet square, but the breath is exactly like the Sky Dome, mysterious, powerful and full of compassion. It is full of awe, can't help but bow down. Go on. Ling Longtian. What made Han Weiwei and others exclaimed was that Ling Longtian was actually bowing down, bowing in front of this aura of light, shrugging his shoulders and bursting into tears. What happened? When Wei Suo walked to Ling Longtian, he saw an obscure stele in front of Ling Longtian. The stele was made of ordinary grey stone on the floating ancestor of the Baron, and some of the unique spirits were carved on it. The text is full of traces of years of erosion. This is the legacy left by our ancestors of the Devil Emperor Dragon family, so that we will guard the place with life for generations. The golden tears in the eyes of Ling Long Sky reflect the indigo starlight above, which is uncontrollable, rolling down. In this way, after the key of the fairyland fell down, the two parties of the spiritual wasteland gathered here and made a contract to guard together. The witch goddess and others took a deep breath. In sight, there are still many such obscure stels. It is conceivable how many powerful existences existed on both sides of the spirit wasteland at this time, and they jointly swore to defend this place with a lifetime, or even a line of heritage, but no one I thought that in the end the Baron would trigger such a war. In Wei Suo's eyes, countless crystals flashed, looking at the milky white aura, but no matter what the law of vitality, he could not see through the light milky white light. Wei Suo stretched out his hand, and there seemed to be countless worlds in his palm. He touched the milky white aura in front of him. But in an instant, his figure disappeared in front of the milky aura, and turned into a distant light star. I don't know how far it was shocked. There is not much time. All the people hadn't had time to scream. As a light pattern appeared in the void, Wei Suo was already standing next to Ling Longtian. Watching Ling Longtian nodded, "There is no key to the fairyland. It is absolutely impossible for me to decipher the forbidden left by this white-coated prince. We cannot imagine his realm." "It is good." Ling Longtian stood up, she knew Wei Suo's meaning, and walked towards the milky white light shield in front of her. The grey bracelet on her hand emits an unusually bright grey divine light, as if at this moment it is like her life is burning up, as if to prove the ancient training left by the Devil Dragon family here, it is worthy of the eternal life of the Devil Dragon family lifeguards. The extremely fiery grey divine light on Ling Longtian's body touched the milky white aura, so that everyone could not help but exclaim that the milky white aura of light seemed to have a sense of trembling. What? However, in just one breath, all the people shouted in horror. Ling Longtian's body was not flicked out, but the grey bracelet on her hand instantly turned into dust, and collapsed in front of this milky aura of light. Even this grey bracelet is not the key to fairyland. Han Weiwei and Ji Ya, who knew that Ling Longtian's bracelet had broken through the sky's power, could only feel that the chest was completely empty. The secret of the key to the fairyland has been annihilated in the battle of 60,000 to 70,000 years ago, and now Ling Long Sky cannot enter. Who else in this world can get the key to this legendary fairyland? Wei Suo's body shook, and his eyes also showed an unprecedented look of misery. But his body immediately stood upright, a crystal clear light emerged from his body, and a pair of pictures emerged from his body. In the picture, there are green and wild wilderness. In this wilderness, there are countless small buildings like houses and large mountains like meteorites. The fireworks are burning out, and the huge pillars of thick smoke are like straight flames rushing to the sky. Thousands of monks' escapes are looming in this wild wasteland, looking at the scene in this wilderness. This is the wild wilderness of Yunling mainland. All the people immediately recognized that this wilderness is the wilderness outside the Yunling mainland that they are familiar with, and it should be right near a gathering place of monks somewhere. And let this wilderness encounter a meteor shower, the entire wilderness is almost burning, it should be the cracking and falling of the barbarian floater. Suddenly, all the monks in this picture escaped, and all the monks who could see clearly looked at the sky above with horror. The sky above the entire wilderness was suddenly pale white. A series of pale white beams of light hung down from the sky, and then, large white-boned ships appeared in the extremely high altitude. The extraterrestrial demon has passed through the blocked starry sky and landed on the Yunling continent. Han Weiwei and others were all horrified. Before they heard Wei Suo said there was no time, they knew that the other party must not need much time to open the void channel, but none of them thought that the demon outside the realm was so fast. In the picture, a golden light suddenly fell down. At least hundreds of monks above this wasteland were all turned into blood mist, forming a long dragon, which was sucked up. All the other monks were horrified and frightened, but the bodies of all these monks seemed to be immobilized by a huge coercion, set in the void, and could not move at all. Boom! A giant ship with white bones first came down and plowed in the sky, and immediately crashed many monks into blood mist, and the heads of the extraterrestrial demons that made up this giant ship with bones were all grinning, all sucked for a moment, instantly the blood mist formed by all the monks was sucked completely. A devastating wave of vitality emanated from this huge white bone ship that first came down. All the plants in this wild wasteland of the Yunling mainland quickly withered and died, and all the spirits were emitted, and the whole piece the wasteland began to degenerate into a deserted desert. Brother Wei, is there any way to save them? The elder son Xiru's body trembled, looking at Wei Suo and asked. Wei Suo has always been her most admired person. In her mind, Wei Suo is almost omnipotent, so in this case, she still couldn't help watching Wei Suo ask such a sentence. I am facing a choice. Hearing the words of Chang's son Xiru, Wei Suo looked at everyone around him with a complex expression. His eyes were extremely deep, and he seemed to engrave everyone's face in his eyes. Here in the Yunling continent, only the Golden Bone Demon Emperor who was hit hard by me sits in town. The remaining 2 extraterrestrial demon emperors and some quasi-empirical figures are all following our gas engines and are trying to sense and get through our channel here. If I take action at this moment, although I can kill a lot of extraterrestrial demon, I will immediately be aware of my specific position by these 2 emperor-level characters, and it will soon come here. Everyone understood Wei Suo's mood at the moment. His choice is to usher in the last moment immediately, or to stay with all of them for a while. Go ahead. Ji Ya looked at Wei Suo and nodded vigorously. At least we are all together, at least kill some extraterrestrial demon, maybe make the extraterrestrial demon family decline, you can save a few stars. They occupy. Go ahead. Yin Liwa, who has been silent for a while, also made a sound. She added softly, it's enough to walk with you in this life. Okay, take advantage of all of you, and fight against the enemy with me. Wei Suo said nothing more, took a deep breath, nodded vigorously, and smiled at everyone. Boom! A huge phantom of 32 arms and 3 heads appeared again on the top of his head, and an ancient lotus appeared at the same time, swaying in the void. The huge phantom of the 32 arms and 3 heads that originally evolved from the law of vitality of the Baron is full of monstrous magic energy, but now, it is full of awe-inspiring compassion. With the exception of Ling Longtian, everyone else only felt that the real element in his body was empty. Most of the real element and vitality were drawn out and penetrated into Wei Suo's body. At the same time, a peculiar power, and then all of them are fixed, as if isolated in the other world. Boom! The breath on Wei Suo has skyrocketed like never before. At this moment, the divine light on his body formed a sacred sword, which penetrated into the void. Afterwards, he pointed towards the front with one finger. Countless small worlds manifested at his fingertips and disappeared instantly. Numerous monks are screaming, shouting helplessly, countless extraterrestrial demon, and laughing haha in the wild wilderness of Yunling mainland. No one can stop this annihilation. But at this moment, the sky suddenly seemed to crack. A finger stretched out. Boom! A huge abyss-like gully appeared on the ground with a radius of tens of thousands of miles. More than 10 white bone ships that exude countless grinning laughs disappeared directly under this finger. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Path to Heaven. Author, Wu Ziyi. Chapter 1319. A vast ocean of terror gas machine oscillated in the area of hundreds of thousands of miles. Previously, Wei Suo looked at the records, and the ancient power could point out that the powerful enemy of thousands of miles away was already unimaginable. However, now he is destroying more than 10 boneless giant ships with one finger through the void. A deep gully was left on the ground of tens of thousands of miles. This method seems to make the time on this wild wilderness of Yunling mainland seem to have solidified. All extraterrestrial demon dared not move, even the extraterrestrial demon emperor with golden bones was panic-stricken at this moment, thinking that a stronger person was born between this world and the world. Zheng. Weiss shot two cold powers in his eyes. What? Over the wild barren wilderness of the Yunling mainland, I don't know how many thousands of miles away from the golden skeletal heavenly demon emperor, who was separated from them by the wilderness of the original here, his eyebrows opened directly, and the golden blood did not, the spouting stopped. Wei Suo's casting did not stop at all. He pushed the door open with his hands, pushing towards the void in front. Bang, there was a huge earthquake in the endless void above, and the position of a star was pushed a little bit shifted. Under the traction of Wei Suo, the various powers involved were rushing towards the Yunling mainland like a tide. Go with. Boom. 10 huge and incomparably light people suddenly came out of the void, each of which was condensed with various peculiar star traction and star rays. Above the barren wilderness of the Yunling continent, except for the white bone giant ship where the heavenly devil emperor was mixed with the golden bones, all the other white bone giant ships were instantly crushed by these 10 huge and incomparably bare people. Buzz. Wei Suo's expression was very dignified. After this attack, he did not continue to face this golden skeleton, and there was golden blood in his eyebrows. The heavenly demon emperor started to spray continuously, but he was boundless. The light surged and 3 huge roulettes evolved overhead. They are about to arrive. These 3 huge hybrid roulettes evolved, and everything seemed to slow down. After quieting down, Wei Suo looked at Ji Ya and all others quietly and said this softly. A sentence. In the wild wilderness of the Yunling continent, the extraterrestrial demon emperor covered with golden bones screamed violently. In the void, a beam of light like a guiding light emerged and fell in front of him. A big tremor of boom, the hands of the extraterrestrial demon emperor who shot more than half of the golden blood in his eyebrows, and the big bone wheel where he was set sail again. Out, instantly submerged into the light beam of the general light. You didn't kill all the white-boned giant ships, you left this one on purpose, and you should lead these extraterrestrial demon away from the Yunling continent. Ling Longtian immediately understood Wei Suo's intention, but her whole body became more and more icy. She knew that if Wei Suo was capable of killing the extraterrestrial demon emperor with golden bones, they would have completely wiped out the extraterrestrial demon in the Yunling continent. Only when there is no absolute ability to kill, will these first extraterrestrial demon be led here. In response to an extraterrestrial demon emperor, there is no ability to completely destroy it in a short time. Then, in the face of 3 extraterrestrial demon emperors and several quasi-emperor level characters, will there be any chance? Boom. Just when such a thought had just flashed in the mind of Ling Longsky, a terrible breath suddenly filled the entire source of the aboriginal float. This breath diffused from the void, as if it could penetrate ancient and modern times in the future. The vast sky will be like stars. A dark-haired flying extraterrestrial demon emperor level character with monstrous coercion directly revealed in the darkness. This dark-haired flying extraterrestrial demon looks very young and beautiful, only in his 20s, and the black light on his body condenses into a black lotus outside his body, making him look like a human race at all. The emperor, but not like an extraterrestrial demon at all. Boom. Thousands of black arms have appeared around Wei Suo just before the manifestation. Each arm holds a different spar weapon, each of which can tear the void and be colorful. Calling towards Wei Suo. Boom. Behind Wei Suo, countless crystal lights suddenly flashed, condensing into 36 arms, each of which had a picture of a fairy in the palm. But the power of this piece of Xiantu did not deal with these thousands of black arms first, but broke into the void for the first time. A mass of light and shadow in the void was directly brushed out, but it was a huge white bone ship. This bone-shaped ship appears to be more vicissitudes than the rest of the bone-shaped ship. It seems that it has been sailing in the void for many thousands of years. Every extraterrestrial demon head on the hull surface is older than the rest of the bone-shaped ship, but the energy fluctuates. It is even more dramatic. On the bow of the giant bone ship, there is a white bone celestial demon outside the old bones with white whiskers. The energy fluctuations of this old and terrible extraterrestrial demon are also the same as the extraterrestrial demon mixed with golden bones, which makes the earthquake tremble, and is also a true emperor-level character. Puff. Once the old extraterrestrial demon emperor was forced out of the void with the white bone ship, Wei Suo opened his mouth, but it spewed out a horrible blood spring, as if all his blood was sprayed out. Formed a blood-red Dao sword. Zheng, innumerable sounds in the void, rippling with unimaginable huge killing intentions and amazing will. How is it possible that your consciousness doesn't yet have me? An incredulous look appeared on the celestial face of the black-haired flying beauty beyond the domain. Thousands of black arms and the spar weapons in their hands were all chopped up by the blood-red sword. In addition, the two pale white jets in his eyes did not block the blood-red Dao sword at all, but there was no effect on the blood-red Dao sword. In the middle of a white bone flower is a barren mountain. Half of his body was directly chopped off by this blood-red Dao sword, turned into fly ash, and hit the void. The idea even transcends life and death. How can you, a locust-like person, realize our determination to defend this world and defend the people around you? Even if your consciousness is stronger than me, how can you resist my decisive sword? Wei Suo seemed to answer the unbelievable demon of the dark-haired flying beauty beyond the realm, and it seemed that in the evolution of God, countless mysterious light patterns penetrated into the void, and there were thousands of bones in the void around him. The lotus is blooming, but only a small flower bone is stretched out, and the light disappears again, withering away. While fighting against two emperor-level figures alone, Wei Suo is obviously still fighting against some extraterritorial demon and semi-imperial level demon. In the powerful 100 Yuan Dingtian realm, he confronted the two great emperors and the characters above the half-emperor level alone, and even one face-to-face, the wind did not fall. Roar. But at this moment, a golden desert swept out of Wei Suo. A force with amazing death energy made the anger on the original solitary Aborigines' origin buddy quickly cut off instantly. On the forehead, the extraterrestrial demon emperor still spraying golden blood on his forehead screamed out with a golden yellow spear. Oh, the spear penetrated Wei Suo's body and flew out directly. Everyone was desperate. Wei Suo faced two extraterrestrial demon emperors and still had a fighting power, but like what he said before, it was indeed not an opponent of the three extraterrestrial demon emperors. Half of the body of the dark-haired flying demon outside the territory also grew out, but the energy fluctuations of the whole body weakened a lot, but there was obviously no worry of life. Wei Suo itself is the best example. An emperor-level figure, the most powerful instead of some real power, but the control of the law of vitality. The three extraterrestrial demon emperors are here. This is already a deadly situation. Laugh. At the moment when Weizhuo was picked up by a spear, a seven-color bone tree suddenly grew on the top of Weizhuo's head, and the seven-color bone branches were severely beaten on Weizhuo's body. What? Almost all of Han Weiwei and others jumped up, as if the bones of these seven colors were drawn in their hearts. Almost all of Wei Suo's body was cracked, and it seemed to be completely turned into fly ash. Immortal. But at this moment, a piece of wood in Wei Suo's body emerged, oscillating into a breath of immortality, and at the same time, his body also exudes the same breath of immortality. The bone tree of seven colors flew out by his body. If you want to invade our world, you have to ask, how many people on your side can survive? You die first. At the same time, Wei Suo made such a voice in his mouth, just like the deities ruling. What? Armed with a golden yellow spear, he just flew Wei Suo out of the golden bone territory, and the heavenly devil emperor suddenly flew back, flying backwards. But a terrifying power burst out of the ground and fixed his body. At this moment, in the void around Wei Suo and this demon outside the golden bone territory, countless Han Weiwei and other gods were confronting each other, and the other two devil emperor figures desperately tried to block Wei Suo's action against the devil emperor outside the golden bone domain. A blow, but Wei Suo also evolved other strong powers at the same time, intercepting the power of these two great emperors. The terrible power that broke out of the earth, but no one could stop it. An indigo star nucleus penetrated and burned out instantly, and combined with the countless transparent divine light that Wei Suo had sent out into an indigo torrent, impacting on the awe-inspiring heavenly demon emperor outside the Golden Bone territory. The heavenly demon emperor outside the Golden Bone territory was completely transformed into floating dust, dissipated in this torrent, and there were no more signs of life. An emperor was killed by Wei Suo. Boom. At the same time, the entire ancestral ancestor Buddha shook violently, and began to crack in the void, falling down. But Wei Suo's expression did not change in the slightest. His eyes swept on the other two extraterrestrial demon emperors, and another bone-exposed giant ship. His voice was breathtaking. Don't forget, this side of the world is my home. Asterisk. The next chapter is tomorrow morning. Path to Heaven. Author, Wu Ziyi. Chapter 1320. Emperor, this is the supreme title. Since the 15,000 years of the sky dormant metamorphosis, there have not been many names. This is no longer the time when the spirits are everywhere, and many powerful people are traveling in the era of too empty. The current great emperor has to walk a lot more than the great emperor of that era, and it represents the supreme achievement. A real great emperor fell in front of him. This kind of shock cannot be described by words at all. Even the stars in the emptiness have countless stars falling down, as if the flowers are flying, and lament the ending of a powerful person. Kill. The beautiful black-winged celestial emperor and the old skeletal celestial emperor were horrified at the same time, but then a more terrifying killing broke out. Return to chaos and destroy immortality. The old boneless extraterrestrial demon emperor seems to have broken through the rules of the immortal emperor realized by Wei Suo, and tens of thousands of white bone fragments flew up on his body. At the same time, in the boneless giant ship under him, each of the extraterrestrial demon emperors, there was a rolling source of essence gas in his head, gathering in the tens of thousands of white bone fragments that flew up on him. These tens of thousands of white bone fragments immediately turned into chaotic streamers, all of which instantly broke into Wei Suo's body. Ka. 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 In Wei Suo's body, it seems that there are countless chaotic worlds that are metamorphosing, and each world is blocking a key in Wei Suo's body, blocking him and Zhou Tianxingchen, and this world. You care about these people. Since that is the case, I will kill them all in front of you. The beautiful black-haired dancing demon emperor outside the domain seemed to capture Wei Suo's thoughts, and his long black hair was swaying in the void, and there were black lightnings blooming on the top of each black lightning. The skulls are all black holes, and they are shot towards Jiyat and Han Weiwei. He was very venomous, not only to force Wei Suo to rescue him, but also to completely disrupt Wei Suo's mind, so that Wei Suo could not evolve the terrible De Wei. I have said that no matter what you want to do in our world, you must first ask how many of you can survive. But at this time, the sound of Wei Suo, who had been hit by tens of thousands of white bone fragments, also rang, and it also turned into a deterrent magic sound, containing other semi-emperor level and quasi-emperor level extraterrestrial demons shots. At the same time, all of his hair flashing with silver radiance also fluttered up, and each hair was stabbed out, and every hair was entangled with the beautiful Black Devil Emperor's black hair. With a clatter, it was like dragging a big fish in the water, dragging this beautiful extraterrestrial demon emperor directly to his body. Boom! 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 Wei Suo's fist fell with a punch, and all the rules of vitality shattered in front of him and the dark-haired fluttering extraterrestrial demon emperor. His call to the world was also suppressed by the old bone-bearing demon emperor, but he used the power of his body to beat the dark-haired dancing demon emperor. His physical body has reached this point. All the extraterrestrial demons that make up the bone ship are screaming in fright. The divine light radiated from the black-haired dancing extraterrestrial demon was shattered, and Wei Suo used his physical body to fight the enemy. Every punch fell, and the black-haired dancing extraterrestrial demon emperor's tricks were also bombarded by him. Strips of black blood. Ah! Ah! The beautiful black-haired dancing demon emperor from outside the world roared again and again, but he couldn't get rid of Wei Suo. Even pieces of broken bone chips were beat out from the body. Each piece of black blood and pieces of broken bone chips were scattered into a terrifying magic light in the void, enough to destroy the power of the real fairy. What? Snapped. With a detonation, the entire aboriginal futa completely burst, and a burst of thunder fire poured out from the cracked crack. Every piece of cracked ground burned, and only that milky white mask remained motionless. The dark-haired dancing extraterrestrial demon screamed. Wei Suo's punch hit his eyebrows, and his two eyes were shocked. Kill. The old demon emperor outside the white bone territory was also completely horrified. He didn't expect that Wei Suo still had such amazing fighting power until now. Even if he feels a steady victory, he is cold all over, and there is a fatal danger of falling. His hands scratched behind his back, and all the extraterrestrial demon that made up the boneless ship behind him opened their mouths at once, and every white spine of every extraterrestrial devil that made up the boneless ship was arrested by him, all from the mouth of these extraterrestrial demon. This is an unimaginable scene. All the spine of the extraterrestrial demon that made up the giant ship was extracted from the mouth by this old white bone extraterrestrial demon emperor. Innumerable spine bones were all turned into white bones, and finally they gathered into a spear-like spine. All of this has evolved in an instant. This snow-white spine, with its breadth of space and time, is like a long river of history, and it penetrated into Wei Suo's body. The endless huaguang rushed out of Wei Suo's back. At this moment, everything in Wei Suo's body seemed to be destroyed, turned into fly ash, into a shooting star, and sprayed out. What? The strength of Wei Suo's body was suddenly exhausted, but at this time, he also shouted loudly. All the thunder fires that burst from the cracks of the cracked baron's native bulletin II, and the surrounding Leigang's breath, all gathered at an unimaginable speed, condensed into a Leigang, and Tianhuo condensed in front of him long sword. The whole world seemed to have no Leigang breath in an instant. Whether it is the Yunling continent, the Tianqian continent, or the more distant Yuhang continent, the sky-falling continent, all the lightning and thunder, all the lightning and Leigang disappeared in an instant. Many monks who didn't even know what happened were looking up at the sky in shock. They didn't know why the original lightning and thunder suddenly disappeared at the moment, but everyone also felt that a certain place in this world everywhere, a horrible gas machine is erupting. What? The old demon emperor outside the territory also instantly screamed in horror. Poof! He and the two white-boned giant ships behind him were both terrified by the handle evolved in front of Wei Suo, and the breath of thunder fire naturally condensed into tens of thousands of thunder fire swords you have to fly out. While flying backwards, the skin of this old extraterrestrial demon was turned into black and grey, and the sky behind him was annihilated, and the two giant ships with white bones also collapsed layer by layer in the tremors. He was so violent. At this moment, even this old extraterrestrial demon emperor had the feeling that Wei Suo was the master of this world. Wei Suo's cultivation ability can only be regarded as the same level as the three of them at most, but in this world, Wei Suo has one enemy and three opponents, but he first uses all the power of the Buddhism in the original source of the Baron and his evolving divine power. Struck, killed one of them, and fell into the nine heavens Ligang layer by the ancestral buoy of the Baron, instantly igniting the thunder fire of the whole world, and issued this blow, making him all such miserable situation. All of this was obviously carried out in Wei Suo's plan, and he used the law of vitality of this world to the extreme, like a master. But at this moment, between the flashes of light, Wei Suo was the extraterrestrial demon emperor with his black hair flying, before the milky white light group. His hand didn't make a fist at this famous eyeball, and he was smashed by the extraterrestrial demon emperor, but he touched this milky white light group exactly like the sky's breath. Snapped. His hand was bounced off again by the milky white light mass. Weisuo. Jia, Han Weiwei, Shui Ling Nangong Yuking, Yin Liwa, Yuanyan Patriarch, everyone understands that the last time has come. There is no more blood on Weisuo's body. All of his true elements and qi and blood seem to have been exhausted at this moment. Only more than 10,000 groups of chaotic colors in his body are pervading his body. The remaining 2 extraterrestrial demon emperors were hit hard, but he could no longer fight and reached the final juncture. But this last hope, what was left behind by the legendary white coat, is still unavailable. Let's go together. At this moment, Weisuo showed a tired and reluctant smile to everyone like Jia and Han Weiwei. His entire body started to burn from the inside out, and the silver and red glows turned into black hole-like vortices and climbed toward the top. Boom! In the endless void, countless stars are shaking, and a massive and terrifying star power has converged into countless devastating flames, impacting. It's a pity that only one of you exists in this side of the world. It is this side of the world that has an emperor like you, so we can't let this side leave any 2 extraterrestrial demon emperors and many surviving outside the domain. The grimaces and cheerful smiles appeared on the face of the gods. Even the Dark Devil Emperor just broke away from Weisuo at this moment, and flew to the dark, old demon Emperor. He joined hands to hold up a pale white mask to block the falling Tianwei. All these extraterrestrial demons are well aware that Weisuo has gone to the final end and is irreversible. But at this time, what made all the people completely shake was that the milky white aura of light behind Weisuo and others suddenly burst out and made the 2 extraterrestrial demon emperors shudder and bow to breath. A white light and shadow came out of it. The key is what I want. A faint voice seemed to come from the sound of loneliness at the top of the mountain. The heights are not cold, but full of compassion and the atmosphere of fighting with the sky. Path to Heaven. Author, Wu Ziyi. Chapter 1321. This white light and shadow is not a real body, without any breath of blood, like a period of divine thought, without coercive coercion, every move seems very bland. But the breath of Weisuo and others all stopped, which could not tell what kind of atmosphere. This white light and shadow let them feel admiration from the heart, only because of the breath emitted by this white light and shadow. The faint sound echoed in their minds, but it made them shudder. You, 2 celestial demon emperors who were rapidly recovering their vigor, tremble. Who are you? This white light and shadow is just like the shadow of a young man wearing a common white vest, but it feels terrible to them, and makes them feel fear from the heart. They have also seen countless strong men in their lives, but they have never had such a weird feeling. They feel that they can't see through each other at all. You still violated the ancestral training, only fresh lessons can make you remember 100,000 years. White light and shadow still made a faint voice, but this voice is full of strong love and hate, very clear. Don't. The 2 extraterrestrial demon emperors and several quasi-imperial emperor extraterrestrial demon both couldn't help but step backwards. Their faces appeared terrified, giving people a kind of horror record. Feel. The white light and shadow did not speak to these extraterrestrial demon, but nodded toward Weisuo and Ling Longtian and others. An invisible gas machine emanated from his body and fell on Weisuo. The mysterious rules of the mystery suddenly appeared in Weisuo's mind. He is spreading the fog. He is at most a divine thought, pretending to be a ghost. Don't you think that will scare us? The dark-haired dancing extraterrestrial demon emperor couldn't bear it first, shouted, and pulled off one of his arms directly, turning into a black bone sword, even as powerful as Weisuo's evolved thunderfire sword, slashed to this white light and shadow and Weisuo. If you don't have awe, you will perish. The white light and shadow came out lightly, without any attacking action, without any violent vitality fluctuations. This dark-haired fluttering extraterrestrial demon emperor screamed, and the body of the light shattered with the black bone sword in his hand. It's up to you next. At the same time, a faint voice rang in Wei Suo's mind. Time suddenly stopped at this moment, and the scene in front of Wei Suo completely changed. He found himself at the top of an independent mountain, whimpering by the wind, overlooking the place, an endless loneliness and barrenness. At the end of the mountain cliff, on the edge of the cliff, there is a rusty iron rope, standing beside it is a plain and simple woman, and a young man in white. You are. Wei Suo felt a big shock in his heart, and could not help but take a step back. With his practice and perception at the moment, he couldn't tell whether it was a reality or an illusion. And the plain and simple woman in plain linen stood conscientiously under the young man in white. She and the young man in white, who looked like her teacher, looked at him warmly, full of the meaning of warmth. The two also did not bring any breath of fireworks, seemed to be integrated with the whole world, and seemed to disappear at any time on the top of this lonely mountain, disappeared in a stream of white clouds, or disappeared in a blowing in the cold mountain wind. Not bad. The young man in white looked at Wei Suo with a slight smile, open love and hate, full of appreciation and satisfaction. It's good. The plain woman looked at Wei Suo, nodded, and smiled, her eyes soft. This is the Luofu Mountains, our veins are derived from here. Since you have inherited our heritage, I want to at least show you here. This may be my pedantic looking at the shock, Wei Suo, who opened his mouth but could not make a sound. The young man in white slowly said this. Like master, I don't want to impose many things on you, so I just pass on some of the mysteries between this world and the world. A series of sober women looked at Wei Suo and added seriously. Wei Suo finally connected all this with certain legends. I know many questions in your heart. You have seen some pictures of the Sky Dome. You should also know that the Sky Dome was not made by me alone. The young man in white seemed to understand Wei Suo's thoughts at this moment and looked at Wei Suo. Then what is the key to this fairyland? Wei Suo finally forcibly condensed his mind, and looked at the young man in white and the plain woman, and asked completely, can you really see everything, past, future? Calculate what happened after so many 10,000 years. No one can really see the cause and effect of the world. The past can be traced, but the future is uncertain, but there is always a general trend in this world. How long does it take to travel from one starry sky to another? The change and evolution of the human heart, the tip of the iceberg melts, and how many years later there will be a rain. There are always traces in this haunt. The young man in white looked at Wei Suo and explained seriously, I can vaguely see these hundreds of thousands of years after the big changes, and no matter at any time, there will always be some people who will stand up, but it may be you, it may be other people, who will stand in front of me, I don't know. The key to the fairyland is just a test for you, just to find your successor. Wei Suo thought that he wanted to understand something and couldn't help but take a deep breath and asked. The key to fairyland can be said to be a test for us, but what I said about fairyland, in the end, you will soon know. As for us, naturally it is not the height you think at the moment, stand by and dominate all this, we need to find a successor, and we also need someone to let this world we care about not be destroyed in the of some people. The young man in white looked at Wei Suo and his eyes flashed slightly. Wei Suo's consciousness seemed to pass through countless stars and rivers in an instant, and suddenly there were countless pictures in his mind. This picture is simply unimaginable at the level he is now in contact with. There are giant palaces of gods and kings directly refined from the entire star, and there are countless monks who are more horrible than the emperor to fight in the starry sky. A respectful existence beyond his imagination fell with the annihilation of the universe. You are beyond the countless stars, wandering too vain. There was a stronger presence and wanted to invade our world. Wei Suo understood everything, and his voice could not help shaking. There are always people who want to make the whole heaven and earth operate according to his will. These tens of thousands of years, we may not be able to return to our heaven and earth, and anyone always has a beginning and a curtain. And there are always some people who don't want those who think they are high, dominate all beings, and want to live according to their own wishes, so our vein can always be passed on. Even in tens of thousands of years, I vaguely see the trend, seeing the descendants of some comrades in arms going toward the heart-wrenching road of no return. They still haven't doubted this. The young man in white looked at Wei Suo and smiled slightly. Master. At this moment, Wei Suo already had a clear vein in his mind. He couldn't control himself anymore, only because of the admiration for the road that his predecessors had walked, and the awe of the two people in front of him. He bowed down. And he doesn't need to ask what is happening at the moment, whether it is illusory or real, because he knows very well that as long as there are people in front of him, the world will not collapse. My Luofu hates these red tapes the least. The Sujing woman looked at the young man in white and smiled. The young man in white also smiled, and said no more, but turned to look at this lonely mountain, the lonely and barren mountains, the mountain that always roared and blew, blowing his hair and white clothes stand up. There was no divine light on him, and it seemed very ordinary. But he stood there with the Sujing woman, and like this lonely solitary peak, it seemed like the straight spine in people's hearts braced the pillars of this world. I was here to get the master's heritage here. Do you think this Luofu is lonely? The young man in white did not look at Wei Suo, but smiled slightly, said, it's like looking at this world from this height. It always makes people feel lonely. It should not be. Facing this awe-inspiring character, Wei Suo was very serious and shook his head. Because there are still many people I care about, and many people are with me. I think so too. It's just that those people probably don't understand. Even if he is the supreme existence in his heart, he will be lonely in his heart alone. The young man in white and the Sujing woman smiled at each other, and seemed to be right. Wei Suo's answer was very satisfactory. Boom! Among the mountains, a thunder suddenly sounded, and a storm seemed to be coming soon. Wei Suo opened his mouth, but he still didn't have time to make any noise. All the scenes before him had completely changed. What? The extraterrestrial demon with dark hair is flying out, and the black bone sword in his hand is shattering. The white light and shadow had faded quickly. Through this white light and shadow, it seemed that the young man in white and the sober woman nodded and smiled at Wei Suo again. And at the next moment, this white light and shadow completely disappeared. Where the original milky white aurolite mask was, only a dark golden door was left. The characters who swept the ancient stars of our demon domain completely disappeared. Where is the door to? Kill him. At this moment, all the extraterrestrial demon, all screamed in surprise, a horrified angry machine, covering Wei Suo. Asterisk. This is the second change today, don't miss the previous one. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Path to Heaven. Author, Wu Ziyi. Chapter 1322. His realm. You people who have learned a lesson but do not know how to repent will never understand. Fairyland is only in people's hearts. Faced with a horrifying anger, Wei Suo's expression became solemn and calm. The look in his eyes was strange, and it was unclear whether it was pity or contempt. Over his head and all around him, suddenly countless treasures and spirit trees were in full bloom. There is a huge white treasure tree, which has evolved in the void, with thousands of branches whirling, rippling with auspicious light, exuding a breath of unstained dust. All extraterrestrial demon are completely shocked. Wei Suo has been fighting to the state where the lamp is dry, but at this moment, it seems that a fairyland has evolved outside him. The endless treasure flowers and spirit trees grow and spread in the void, as if there are countless roads that lead to the sky toward the endless emptiness. This is a scene that is difficult to describe with words. Every treasure flower and spirit tree, especially the light and shadow of the huge white treasure tree that has evolved, draws amazing spirits from other stars. It is truly disseminated and filled with amazing spirit elements, like a panacea. But this unit of spirits, like his own life, poured into Wei Suo's body. What? The dark-haired dancing extraterrestrial demon emperor first yelled in horror. His only one-armed arm had also turned into 5 black streamers. Each black streamer was a black pagoda, but he suddenly found that his eyebrows grew long. A black spirit flower emerged. All the true elements and vitality in his body generally disappeared with the growth of this black spirit flower. The 5 black pagodas he evolved faded all the way, and when they reached Weizhuo, they became 5 black. Withered bone. In his horrible shouting, these 5 dead bones all turned into floating ashes, and his entire body instantly turned into floating ashes, completely collapsed into the void, leaving only the flower growing in his heart. The black aura was quietly suspended in the void. What kind of power is this great emperor directly ashing? What? The spirits of the heavenly demon emperor outside the old bones are almost suffocating, and this power has subverted his cognition. Tens of thousands of chaotic streamers have emerged on his body again, forming a magic figure. All the extraterrestrial demons that make up the white bone ship under his body are also nearly dried up, and his energy has been exhausted by his blow. But at this moment, he was unable to perceive the existence of Weisuo, unable to lock Weisuo at all, and did not know where Wei Neng was going. Weisuo and Ji Yat and others were in his sight, but Weisuo and everyone around Weisuo seemed to be connected with the whole world and melted into this world, right in front of him. But it seems to be infinitely far, never reach. I don't know if this picture can let you settle for more than 100,000 years. Weisuo's eyes flashed, and the black spirit flower shot into his hand. The endless black aura flew out of his hand, and the demon figure evolved by the demon emperor outside the old bones flew back. What? In the horrifying shouts of this extraterrestrial demon emperor and the countless extraterrestrial demon that make up the white bone giant ship below, they were all pressed into this magic figure, and the infinite black aura came in, and they were all pressed into a road map, turned into a black scroll. On the black scroll, the old demon emperor outside the bone territory and a giant bone ship underneath come to life with expressions of horror. This black scroll draws a series of mysterious trajectories in the void following Weisuo's point, and flew into the void, and a burst of star wind penetrated. This black scroll seems to have passed through numerous rifts in space and directly hit the starry sky where these extraterrestrial demons were originally located. Zheng. Countless gods emerged in the void, a handle of the sky sword flashed, and all remaining extraterrestrial demon were all slain in the void. The whole world became calm in an instant. All the extraterrestrial demons have been killed? This big disaster has been calmed down. Why saw, what the is going on? Han Weiwei and Ling Longtian and others were shocked and were going crazy, not knowing what happened. If I said that I got the legacy of the legendary white coat, do you believe it? Weisuo swallowed hard, and he himself felt a sudden dream. When he was inherited by Tongtian Emperor, he already felt that he had opened a door and saw the world he could not imagine. But now, he found that even the state at that time was very small compared to the realm of the young man in white and the Sujing disciple and the world presented to him. I wish I could kill you in one bite, Han Weiwei said Ichi after a long time of speechlessness. Although all this sounds unbelievable, it is impossible not to believe that such a thing happened before us. Is this the key to the fairyland? Is it the inheritance deliberately laid by the white coat? Ling Longtian still trembles, which is the guardian of countless people of their spirit family. For her, naturally, it has a more extraordinary meaning. His achievements, we simply cannot imagine. He saw the trajectory after more than 100,000 years. Weisuo nodded and evolved the scene he saw directly in everyone's mind. It turns out that this is not only to resolve a big disaster he has seen, but also to find a successor. All the people are extremely shocked. Although the image of the white coat in the legend is very tall, it can only be seen by the person. It was only after I felt it that I felt his glory drowning in ancient and modern times, and even the sun and moon in the sky seemed unable to compete with him. It turns out that the key to fairyland is the human heart, the heart he needs in this vein. Ling Longtian said this, She seemed to understand many things. I still don't understand. Han Wei couldn't help but called out. When everyone's eyes focused on her, she kicked Wei Suo's body. I just can't understand how the legendary white coat, how could you like a dead rogue? All the people couldn't help laughing, relieved. What could be more exciting and joyful than the rest of the life after the disaster and the freedom to live in this world? Ah! Brother! Boy, I'm calling you brother, okay, or you will accept me, let me be the next generation of heirs. Suddenly, a dissonant voice sounded. All the people almost rolled their eyes and fainted. It was the old man in green robe who made this sound. He looked at Wei Suo, his eyes glowing golden. What is this? Jia, Nangang Yuking and others all smiled, ignoring the old man in green robe, but his eyes stayed on the dark golden door. Even the legendary white coat and the so-so woman he inherited did not say what was behind this dark golden gate. Wei Suo didn't know what was behind the dark golden door. He stretched out his hand towards the dark golden door with an inexplicable mood. Spring, late spring. After the dark golden door, the spring blossomed. Wei Suo, Ling Longtian, Jia and all others were surprised to see that under the warm spring sunshine, it was a blue sea. On a rock by the sea, there was a young boy who was still young. In the distance, there is a dilapidated unmanned fishing village. The teenager's feet were worn, but he still looked at the distant sea proudly. He didn't feel that Wei Suo and others came out of the void from behind, just an ordinary teenager who hadn't practiced any exercises or techniques at all. Wei Suo's consciousness was released, and he touched the law of vitality of this side of heaven and earth. Immediately, a shocked look appeared on his face. The world behind this dark golden gate has many auras and spirits. For monks, this is a real fairyland. However, in many places where his consciousness spread, there are countless peaceful villages and countless mortals who have not been exposed to any exercises. What does it mean for the white man to leave a door and lead to this world? Wei Suo transformed his knowledge into the consciousness of Han Wei and others, all of whom could not understand. In front of this childish young man, but the back is very arrogant and determined boy, what is he looking at and waiting for? Click. Wei Suo looked at the young man in silence for a long time, and then deliberately broke a shell on the beach and made a sound. You are. The teenager turned his head. This is a teenager with a thin face, but a very smart look. When he saw Wei Suo and others, he was shocked. Are you, fairy? What's your name? Why is it here? Wei Suo and others looked at each other and looked at the young man and asked. My name is Xuanhuan Yi. The teenager looked at Wei Suo and others, but was a little confused when he was excited. Our village suffered a plague. When I was dreaming, I saw a man dressed in white. The fairy tells me that there will be a fairy here, and I will be here. Originally, Wei Suo was puzzled first, and then some pictures of the lonely mountains came up in his mind, his chest trembling as if struck by a sledgehammer, and his face was shocked. He saw a barefoot man standing on the cliff of the lonely mountain peak in the picture, watching a teenager climb up. He saw that the man was facing a catastrophe, facing the impenetrable cause and effect cycle. It turned out that his last big disaster was this reincarnation of the 100th century. Master, they finally found his footsteps. Wei Suo looked at the young man in shock with great shock. There is no such thing as a fairy in this world, only people like us who have mastered some mysteries and powers between heaven and earth. Wei Suo's expression was so solemn that he took a deep breath and looked at the young man said slowly. End of the book. The last chapter. Thank you to everyone who supports me, who likes this book, whether like this ending or not. Laughs. Today's sunshine is very bright, and the mood is also very good, because no matter what the ending is, even if it is the Luofu one, I think the most artistic conception, the most swanky ending I wrote. Many students will find it not addictive, many students will scold, haha, but I know that there will also be many students who like this ending. I myself think this ending is perfect in my heart, because this ending has been in my heart for half a year. I have been thinking about what is behind that last door for a long time. I may have read my last Luofu classmate, it will be clearer. I haven't read it, and it will be more puzzling. If you want to read it, you can still look at Luofu, Laughter, because after all Luofu is a 2.4 million word free copy of course. The relationship between Road to Heaven and Luofu is, of course, the same series as my The Other Side of SC, Rogue Master, Eyebrow, and Rogue Master 2. The difference is that the Rogue series I used 4 books to outline a complete world and reincarnation. I only used 2 books for Luofu and Tongtian Road, but the result was very satisfying to me. Thank you very much for every click, every red ticket, every subscription. To be honest, Luofu I was very painful, holding my breath. I must write my own things. In the end, I feel that I have done my own and wrote what I want to write. Of course, the pain of the process does not say anything. 2. The Road to Heaven is completely different. I am very tired of the whole book of Road to Heaven. I have written about 3.6 million words a year. It has been serialized for nearly a year and a half. Except for the finale, the rest of the time has basically been achieved. 3 times a day, and it is updated regularly. I'm tired of writing. I put almost all my time on the code words every day. I gave up a lot of things, including many such sunny and leisurely afternoons, but my mood for writing The Road to Heaven is very happy. Either myself or the website's performance is very good. At the beginning, nearly 5,000 subscriptions were put on the shelves for 24 hours. The monthly height of the subscription was over 10,000. This is why I am very happy to write. And the whole story and characters make me very happy. The course of a small person is often the course of most of us. Regarding Yuan Tianyi, the favorite character of many students in this Luofu, I said that I will give you an explanation. Even after the last of this Road to Heaven, he is still in his own robbery, he is walking his own way, so in the face of his reincarnation, Wei Suo is full of reverence, full of shock, there are comprehension. As for the old man in green robe and Yin Liwa, I feel that there is no need to waste any more pen and ink to explain. With Wei Suo's cultivation practice and supernatural powers, everything can be solved. For me personally, a clean and neat result is always worth recalling, and no matter where the starry sky is now, and what kind of world, Weizhuo has been inherited by Luofu, it is still invincible, or a big one. Reunion ending. The only suspense is whether there will be any results between Wei Suo and Ganyame. This can only be left to everyone's imagination. Perhaps for this, most readers will have different choices. Regardless of the 4 to hundreds of thousands of words of the whole Road to Heaven, how do you feel after the whole passage? But I think I am still a guy who rarely disappoints my book friends, and then smiles trivially, and then solemn and serious. At least for every book I write, I will not deviate from my goal. Something I want to write, I will definitely find a way to write it. As for people who are dissatisfied or have omissions, such a daily update rate is inevitable, but not to die, but I will do better. The Road to Heaven is my first big book with more than 4 million words. After the accumulation of 2 books with Rogue Master 2 and Luofu, which is also a lot of words, I wrote it on Road to Heaven. The whole rhythm and plot trend I also feel very happy about the aspect. To be honest, I myself look forward to my next new book. To what extent? Because of my feelings, when I started writing a new book at the beginning, my state had reached the peak state of being a rogue master. There are many things that are about to spray out of my head, waiting for me to knock them out. And rogue masters at that time, relying only on talent and some enthusiasm, but now, at least I have made a lot of progress and experience in many aspects such as pen power and control, right? Old boring teenagers freak out, old trees are blooming again, what kind of a realm this will be once again I can't help laughing. The sun is shining and the mood is also bright. This chapter was typed out in the office of the boss of the imperial capital, and it must be able to infuse the imperial spirit and the spirit of the king. The style of the new book will also be very bright, good mood, very relaxed and very comfortable. As for the subject matter, I'll sell a pass, haha, don't adjust your appetite, what if you forget me, then I'm going to cry. Sometimes I shy at you and point at the book review area. You guys, bad guys, my sister, I have 1 chapter less, 2 chapters a day, and I have a pitiful leave to ask you to be lenient and scold me. Feng Huo and Fang Xiang's group of bad guys, if there are 2 chapters in a day, they will be rewarded, and there is nothing to say about the red ticket. This is unfair. There are would. But no matter what, I still have no problem. Whoever asks me to take time off can't take it easy, and I can't pass my heart. I am a professional. I often patted my chest in a bullish manner, and then asked deliberately in the group, Xiao Fang, you have coded a few chapters today, Li Uxia, you have coded a few chapters. Ah, only half a chapter, I'm in a bad state today, only 3 chapters. Laugh again. I can only guarantee that the new book will be very interesting, and it will be very different from Luofu and the Road to Heaven. Because I hate repetitive things, if I have a sense of freshness, it will be at least very interesting, and write interesting things. The date of the new book is now set around May 7th, which happens to be the end of the study of the Lusun School of Literature, and then I have to set the trial writing period, and it also needs a certain time buffer. Once again, solemn guarantee, the new book will be more exciting, better looking, more interesting. Brothers and sisters who have been with me for more than 2 years, we will see you in May. We must wait for my new book. Otherwise, I will scold my teeth with a brick in front of the computer.